We are live, back and in living color for our 5-minute countdown, where we'll begin the show here shortly. Looking forward to it. We've missed several weeks in a row. Things in life, the doldrums of the summer, just the lack of Wi-Fi. I'm sure we'll get to that. But overall, looking forward to a great show. Please share the podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, so that you and all your friends can watch and join in right here at the 4th of Goalsports podcast. I'm David Llewellyn. There's my buddy Chris Sarah Jr.
How's everybody doing?
I'm going to bow out now and share to all my friends.
What's up? So glad to be back. Couple weeks away from training camp opening. Football is almost back.
It's showtime!
Let's go! We're officially back.
Welcome back, everybody.
How's everybody been?
Do what?
So how's everybody been?
I'm good. Things are, better than they've been for a little bit, but, it's time. We've had several weeks off here where we didn't get a chance to talk football and, discuss all the things. We thought we were going to be doing it, again every weekend and start with our team previews. We did 4 teams already and then just kind of had to take a hiatus due to so many different factors in life and everything. But training camp is coming up here real soon. I think we're less than 10 days away from most of everybody opening up training camp. And that's good news, because that means the football season is right around the corner.
Yes, it is. And I just want to apologize. I went through a lot of things. A lot of people know I opened my own landscaping business that took off. My brother moved out. We shared internet, cable, all that. And then I canceled cable because without them, we were paying out the behind. We were paying like $300 a month for Wi-Fi and cable and everything. I told them I didn't want cable, just the Wi-Fi. They were supposed to do that. They didn't shut the cable off and then expected me to pay the full $300. And I'm like, no. There's a reason why I called to shut the cable off. So then I had to go to finding a new source for Wi-Fi, and I got a great deal, so I'm happy and just glad to be back. I'm not sure what other states have it or not, but we have a company up here called Wow. So I got Wow Wi-Fi for $70 locked. They can't raise the price as long as I'm a customer.
Right.
And then I got YouTube TV through them for the $72. So I basically cut my bill down in half from $300 to $150. And then I can always cut, obviously, YouTube because I got the Fire Stick that we pay $20, and it gives me the Sunday ticket, the NHL, Center Ice, gives me all the Major League games, all pay-per-view for free too. But I like the YouTube TV because I still like some cable shows out there, like Deadliest Catch and stuff like that. And now when I go deer hunting in November, the 1 week we usually don't have a show,
right?
I'm guaranteed to be able to watch a Lions game while I'm hunting in the woods. Now, again, that's been the hardest thing. I'm a big-time hunter, and all these years I've always hated hunting on Sundays. Regardless of how good the Lions were, it didn't matter. I always hated missing the game. But now with YouTube TV, because I did the free trial last year, and I was able to watch the good comeback against the Bears at home, or when we came back and won that game against them. So it works out. We got our buddy Ron back in the house.
Yeah.
Man, we missed you, buddy.
Through some rough times himself over the last few weeks. Lost one of his best friends up in Illinois. And condolences to you, my friend. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast. Let's kick this off here with news of the week. And we just got news. Those of you who follow on Facebook, it used to be Pro Football Chase. It's now Football Forever. Wide receiver Jordan Addison of the Minnesota Vikings was arrested Friday night, early Saturday, we'll call it around midnight, just outside of LAX airport for being asleep at the wheel, suspicion of drunken driving. So not good for Minnesota, not good for him. And my kids are bringing me my dinner. Thank you, guys. Love you. Want to say hi? Anyway,
what's up, buddy?
Ryan, there's Eric. They're crazy. All right. Go eat.
I think it's sad to see because, Minnesota, even though they got my boy JJ, there's no guarantee he starts this year. They're already planning on starting with Sam Darnold. So to me,
well, and listen, I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. I mean, we haven't gone to training camp yet.
No, I know that, but I'm just
a lot of good things have been said about, J.J. McCarthy and everything. I expect Sam Darnold to be the starter early on.
Oh, for sure.
I hope that he will be. I want J.J. McCarthy to kind of ease into the position and not get thrown to the wolves. Although I feel good about the offensive line for the Vikings. They have plenty of weapons. If Addison isn't suspended, that's going to be the case. He's going to get suspended. This is one of those ones where they're not going to wait around to find out, he was asleep at the wheel, probably going to be suspended, right out of the gate from the start of the season. But they're also going to be without T.J. Hawkinson, who tore up something at the end of the season. They're not going to have him early on, for the first week of the year or first few weeks. And so that's going to put a damper on the passing game. They're going to have to lean on their new running back, Aaron Jones, coming over from the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is, to me, is Minnesota's kind of starting behind the A ball just a little bit because you don't know what quarterback's actually going to start. You know what I mean? And you were really counting on JJ since, JJ just got his contract. You were counting on Allison to help whatever quarterback that was that's going to be playing quarterback for him. And now after this, you're not going to have Allison for a few weeks. And you're going to put all the pressure on JJ. And you already know JJ is going to draw double coverage right off bat regardless who's throwing him the ball. They're going to be paying heavy attention to him. Don't matter who you face. So this is really not helping the Vikings, especially with TJ out too on the top of it. And this is, to me, I've said it before on these broadcasts, especially after the Henry Ruggs, there was a speech that Nick Saban did. And, he hit it. He was talking to Minnesota and he brought up Henry Ruggs, or not Minnesota, but he brought up the Henry Ruggs situation to the Alabama team. And, he said, you got to look out after teammates, your friends, regardless who they are. And it doesn't matter if they're going to be mad at you. You have to take the keys away and do smart things. And he goes, they might be mad at you, they might cuss you, they might hate you at that moment. He goes, but in the morning, he goes, they're going to thank you. Because he brought up Henry Ruggs. He's like, if was one person that took this 21-year-old's keys away, this dude want to be in prison. And this is another example with these young players. I think and it's hard because you want to blame it on people he's probably hanging out with that night, but at the same time, they're all probably the same age, making the same stupid mistakes as him. So this is, to me, with the NFL, I still believe this would be a great program for any new players, is have somebody, that kind of watches over them and walks them through this, because you're a star. Once you go in their police system and they see who you are, every media has it blasted, you're getting caught, you're not going to be able to play games, or you're getting punishment, or you're a player that don't have a guaranteed spot on the team that was lucky to make a team, and you do one little stupid thing, even if it's sleeping behind the wheel drunk and not driving, and still going to get blasted on the internet and all news platforms, and you're going to pay the consequences.
Yeah, and for me, listen, I don't want to throw stones at anybody, but I just want to say this. We are all human beings. We all make mistakes. Luckily, some of us, it doesn't get blasted all over TV and radio and the news media and everything. But when you're in the NFL, they're looking to nitpick you. If you're a celebrity, look, this is something I brought up. It has nothing to do with football. Thank goodness okay, that Magic Johnson, Larry Bird did not play in the age of social media. Can you imagine the race baiting, the vitriol, the negative bullshit posts and comments that they would have been pitted against each other if they'd have been in that kind of situation? And then I followed it up by saying, you don't have to imagine. Just look at all the posts that involve Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Okay?
Exactly.
Where they're trying to pit them against each other. They're two fabulous women athletes playing in the WNBA. They played against each other in college, and they're going to be great players for years to come. You know, they're both rookies. One's got a lot of turnovers right now. The other one's providing a lot of rebounds right now. Clark is not shooting the daylights out of the ball. And, you know, they want to trash him because, you know, you're in the pros now, you know. Well, they do the same thing when it comes to players that make mistakes off the field. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you know, I don't know if this is the case for everybody, but I know lots of people that have made mistakes, you know. And in this country, you know, we lead the world in incarcerated people, you know. They look for reasons to throw you in jail because it's all about the money, you know. And so, you know, this is another one of those cases, you know, that it'll be talked about on NFL Network, and it'll be talked about in Minnesota and all of the radio stations, and what a piece of shit Jordan Addison is suddenly because he did something wrong. Nobody was hurt, okay? The car was stalled or in some lane, okay? Well, but somebody could have been hurt. Yeah, but you don't have to take everything to the nth degree. Okay? Not everything is taken to somebody could have died, you know, every time somebody does something wrong.
Yeah.
And so, you know, nobody was hurt. The guy was asleep at the wheel, according to the report we read before the show. And so, you know, it'd be interesting to know if it was in park or if it was in dry, but he had his foot on the brake.
To me,
you know,
I see a big deal about it. What tells me is he obviously parked there and wanted to sleep it off. Should he got behind the wheel? Probably not. Did he make a mistake? Did he probably realize it and stop and go to sleep? Yeah. I actually know a buddy who, unfortunately, you know, he's not with us anymore, but, you know, back when he was younger, he took his dad's car. His dad was a truck driver, you know. He took his dad's car out to his buddies, and he got wasted. He had prior DUIs on his record and didn't have a license, so technically he shouldn't have been driving. Never lie about it. But he paid his friend to drive his car home with him in it, so he did not have to drive home drunk.
Yeah.
So at the time they were redoing this road, so you had to park at the corner by the school and walk like 8 houses down to his house. Well, he passed out in the passenger seat. Everybody tried to wake him up, but he was so dead weight, they weren't going to be able to carry him 8 houses. So they locked the doors. They put the key in the center console. They left him sleeping in the passenger seat. Someone called the cops. He went to jail for a DUI. Never drove the freaking car. Not once. He was sleeping in the passenger seat, but because the keys were in the car, they accused him of driving anyway. And he
you got to collect that money. Got to be able to pay these people, you know.
Yeah. So to me, it's like the one simple thing where you catch somebody that made a mistake, but corrected the mistake by doing something that was smart, by sleeping in his car, and then he gets a DUI regardless.
Yeah.
You know, and it's messed up. Also, in today's news, we have learned that Jacoby Jones, my bad, has passed away at 40 years old in his sleep. It has not been released on what caused his death yet or anything, but that's just crazy. And it's here.
Great player for the Baltimore Ravens. Caught the mile-high miracle for Baltimore to knock off Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos. Helped get him into the Super Bowl so Ray Lewis could get a second Super Bowl championship. Had a big-time kickoff return for a touchdown against the 49ers in the New Orleans Super Bowl that had the blackout for the lights. And, he was a big part of that game plan, a big star in that game. 40 years old. That's unbelievable. You would think that an athlete, even if he's been retired for several years, would be in, still really good physical condition. I'm sure that's going to be something where they, going to do an autopsy to find out what exactly happened. Darn shame for Jacoby Jones.
Very sad to see. Also, guys, real quick before we get into more of the show, you can go in the comments. Here's the link right here. You can go in the comment section, and you can also click on our YouTube channel and follow us there as well. We got somebody off of Twitch. Do a flip. Well, I'm not that athletic. I'm more offensive lineman, D lineman type body, so you're probably not going to see a flip because I do not feel like killing myself tonight.
Yeah, read off the comments from the other things. All I can see is Facebook because we don't have that side thing. It hasn't been working since early on.
We only got 3 comments. The one flip, and then Ron.
Yeah, Ron was all here. So.
Yeah, Ron said, thank you. He did say that, if you missed that.
No, I didn't miss anything. All right, well, so, just in general, since we have been gone, Trevor Lawrence got paid in Jacksonville.
Which I thought it was a little crazy to a little bit.
Yeah, big money there, and so now we've got, players that were holding out of training camp. Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb didn't show up for the Cowboys. You've got a lot of really good players that are out there on the market. There's going to be you'll start to see another round of free agents get signed here in the next few weeks. There will be injuries in training camp. There will be, injuries in a preseason game. And teams have to make sure that they are ready to go for the main season. Of course, the main season starts, with we've got ourselves a pretty big game. You've got the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs on the Thursday night opener. And then we've got the Friday game right after that, where the teams that will be wearing green will be playing in Brazil when the Eagles and the Packers square off on the Friday night game. That was exclusively on Peacock. But right now, let's take a look at one of our team profiles, okay? The stuff that has happened to these teams in the offseason. We're going to begin with the Atlanta Falcons.
Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have done quite a bit here this offseason. It's very interesting to me what they did do. If you take a look here, obviously they've added Kirk Cousins from the Vikings. They bring in Darnell Mooney, the wide receiver from the Bears. Rondale Moore from the Arizona Cardinals. Ray McLeod comes over to be the returner from the 49ers. They get tight end Charlie Werner, defensive end James Smith-Williams, cornerbacks Antonio Hamilton Jr., and then cornerback Kevin King from the Green Bay Packers. Losses, Desmond Ridder, Keith Smith, their fullback. They don't need a fullback necessarily because they're changing offenses. Going to have a brand new offensive coordinator coming in. Zach Robinson's going to be taking the reins there with new head coach Raheem Morris. Probably going to be running a lot of double tight end sets. Going to get Kyle Pitts more involved in the offense. They lost returner Cordarrelle Patterson, who was doubling as a running back the last couple of years. He went to the Steelers. Van Jefferson, Mac Hollins, Jonnu Smith. Then defensively, Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, and Jeff Okudah. Your old buddy from Detroit, Chris.
Yeah.
And so just looking at that in general, thoughts on the additions and the losses before we get to draft picks?
I mean, to me, my opinion is Atlanta's had an okay offseason. I think they've improved. I'm still kind of shocked with the draft, though. They still have me really confused with that one. But, I mean, they definitely, to me, have got a playoff team. But to me is, I want to see where this coaching staff's at and see how it all plays out. Because, Atlanta went into last season pretty hyped up. And I mean, to me, it was just a crazy season for them last year. They never lived up anywhere close to the potential that we heard they could be. So this year, I think with Kirk Cousins, you got a decent wide receiver core. I feel like their defense kept them into a lot of games last year when they were struggling. So with their add-ons, and their draft with the linebacker and D tackle, I think they could still be a wild card team. I'm waiting for David to come back. No surprise.
I'm still here. I was just off camera.
Okay.
No, when you look at what they've done this offseason, for me, I look at it, it made no sense to me to draft Michael Penix Jr. in the first round when you're bringing in Kirk Cousins. Now, I understand, what if his Achilles isn't healed? Well, you still have Tyler Heineke. And with all of the weapons that they have brought in, they are an improved team from last year. People are going to say that they expect them to win the division this year over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think that Tampa, is an improved team. I think that New Orleans is going to be an improved team. There's no way that Carolina is going to be as bad as they were last year. There's going to be some, shifting around in the division. And everybody's like, as soon as they got Kirk Cousins and a couple of these players offensively, Atlanta's going to make the playoffs or going to win the division. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I think they can be in the wild card run, but, they're going to have to show more, dynamic plays offensively. I know they got the new offensive coordinator, but they missed an opportunity to improve a pass rush that on a team that didn't have one. They didn't have a pass rush.
Yeah.
Calais Campbell up the middle for them, they wouldn't have had any kind of pass rush at all. And so, yes, they did draft, Rook Ahorahoro, whatever his name is there, defensive tackle out of Clemson, but he is not necessarily, the savior in any way. They had an opportunity to get Dallas Turner in the first round, as the first, as the best pass rusher in the draft. He slipped all the way down to the 18th pick. Atlanta picked at like 8. And so, Penix Jr. will get groomed, but there's going to come a time here where he is, the fans are going to be calling for him to come in as soon as Kirk Cousins loses a game in prime time or throws an interception when they had a chance to win the game. And so
for sure.
It's going to cause this team to have way too much just way too much strife internally leading up this particular season.
While you were talking, I think I just kind of figured out why they took Phoenix Jr. is because if you remember back, right for the draft, that's when the rumors came of the investigation of tampering. So I'm thinking they might have drafted a quarterback when they did now because they were scared they were going to lose their first-round pick next year. And want to be able to, and then they get a slap on the wrist, and they're probably feeling pretty stupid right now. So let's catch up some comments. We got done with Atlanta. Ron says no surprise with the Cowboys. They're in a money dilemma besides the fact that Jerry Jones is greedy with his money. I think Jerry Jones is too greedy with his money and can't build a real football team, and it's time for Jerry to step aside and get a real GM. I mean, he can put his 2 cents in. There's nothing wrong with that. But he should be the one calling the shots. That's just my opinion.
Well, I've seen some clips. We watch all these, people on TV, the talking heads, and on radio and TV, and the shows where they're supposed insiders. And I saw a clip today that was like, I don't think the Cowboys are actually trying to win. I think they're just trying to solidify everything that they can solidify because they're going to sell the team. That's what I heard. They'll sell the team. Jerry Jones, if Jerry Jones were to die, okay, because the team is his, the inheritance tax would be so great it would bankrupt the family, for the family to keep the team. And so it's better that he sells the team and then provides, inheritance in, actual money rather than an option or, a possession before he passes away. And I was like, that it makes sense to me, but I can't see him or that family ever selling that team. Their ego is too big.
Here's the thing. That makes no sense. Because Jerry is already a billionaire with Jerry. You got the Cowboys, that's a $1 billion franchise. The family's making enough money to pay the tax. That's the problem. Because honestly, I think Dallas would luck out if that was the true case and they had to sell the team. That's just my opinion, because I feel like Jerry is...
Whether the team gets inherited or the team gets sold, it will be the highest priced North American franchise in history.
That's exactly why that makes no sense.
$6 billion, for the Denver Broncos, they'll get 10 for the Cowboys.
Yeah. So Ron has another comment regarding Atlanta. He says, I like what Atlanta's doing. They're building slowly, but they've missed in the draft when they could have had a really good player with that first pick. We definitely agree with you there, Ron. We were already just discussing that. So, and he said he still thinks Tampa Bay wins that division, which I do too. I think Tampa's the team to beat in the South.
Well, I'm still going to go with I like the New Orleans Saints to make some noise. I don't care whether people don't like Derek Carr. They got a new offensive coordinator team. We'll discuss maybe next week, but because
the Saints are still going to make noise.
Concentrate on just a single division. I wanted to have a couple of NFC teams, a couple of AFC teams from different divisions, so that we can really mix things up here when we're talking about stuff each particular week. And so, I think that I like New Orleans. I think Tampa's still going to be real good. I like Atlanta and possibly make the playoffs as a wild card. But I like the New Orleans Saints in that division. I think it'll be a lot tougher division this year than it has been. And there's going to be a couple of teams there that get double-digit wins. But for now, We'll move on to the next team on our list. We've talked about the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC. Now we'll talk about an AFC team that's made quite a few moves in the offseason, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Fuck the Steelers.
And so if you look here with the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, everybody knows that they brought in Russell Wilson and Justin Jefferson to compete for that starting quarterback job. You know, they ran all their quarterbacks out of town. Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, you know, are all gone to other teams. And all three of those guys are backups, number 2 guys on other teams elsewhere. Pickett with the Eagles, Trubisky back with the Bills, Rudolph with the Tennessee Titans. But you bring in Russell Wilson here, probably going to be the starter to begin with because they got to see what they have with him. They're paying him the minimum, basically, because all of his salary is being paid by the Denver Broncos. So they're going to give each quarterback, I'm sure, an opportunity to show what they have. And it's not going to take long before the fans start chanting for Justin Fields because of his mobility and athleticism. I think that both quarterbacks will definitely get a chance to play this season. Now, they traded away, Deontay Johnson, Carolina Panthers. That's one of their losses. They bring in Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims, Quez Watkins from the Eagles. Cordarrelle Patterson comes in he could be a change of pace at running back. He could be a weapon on the outside at wide receiver, but mainly for the new return rules, that's why they brought in Cordarrelle Patterson. And then, you've got Michael Pruitt at tight end, Dean Lowry at defensive end, and then the big acquisition, Chris, on defense is Patrick Queen coming over from the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, that's huge.
They get Deshaun Elliott at safety and Deontay Jackson at corner. Their other losses, are basically on the offensive line. They lost Cole and Okafor. The defensive line, in Watson, Wren. Linebackers was, Marcus Golden, Blake Martinez, Mikael Walker. Defensive backs, Neil Peterson and Wallace are all gone. And then they're replacing their punter, Presley Harvin.
Also, you forgot to add on this list that they re-picked up Cam Sutton from the Detroit Lions, which just came out the other day. Cam Sutton will serve an 8-game suspension, meaning he's going to probably lose his grievance against Detroit, and Detroit should save some money from releasing him early out of his guaranteed contract due to the fact that the NFL obviously found him guilty and suspended him for 8 games for this offseason, which I'm happy about. I'm not happy about the whole thing and the spotlight you put on my team, but I'm happy that we should be saving the money against our cat for releasing him. That's what I am happy about.
For Pittsburgh, I listed their first 3 draft picks, and the reason why here is because they really bolstered their offensive line. They bring in Troy Fotnew at offensive line and Zach Frazier at center. Both of those guys are projected to be starters. Of course, last year, they brought in Broderick Jones from Georgia to play left tackle. And so they're remaking that offensive line. They've got a new offensive coordinator, former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and also former offensive coordinator from, the Tennessee Titans. He comes in, and so he is the kind of guy that's going to want to run the football. They declined the 5th-year option on Najee Harris. They got surprisingly really good. They got some really good yardage and touches out of their backup running back. And so between the two of those guys, and of course, if they bring in Cordarrelle Patterson, who he knows very well from Atlanta, I think they're going to do a lot more running this year, running and play defense. If Wilson or Fields can really give them some yardage and not, turn the ball over offensively, I think Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely a playoff team this year, Chris.
I think they could. I'm not going to sit there and say that because to me, the last few years they got to prove it to me. That's just where I'm at because I thought they could have been a playoff team with a couple of these teams they had over the year. Because let's face it, their coach still hasn't had a losing record.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
So to me is, I already believe in the coach enough to get him to the playoffs. To me, the players have to back it up on the field and off the field. Do the season before I'm going to buy in on them being in the playoffs at this point because the coach is doing the right things. He's putting the team in the best position and the players are just not getting it done, which I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be crazy here just because he's from Michigan, but Roman Wilson, there's two reasons why I'm bringing this kid up. This kid has ability to be like the same, I can't never say his damn name right, but we've seen it from the Hawaii kid with the Rams last year, rookie wide receiver.
Rookie Kanua.
Roman Wilson has the same ability to be that same type dude. I don't know how much background you followed this kid. This kid used to have to get on a fucking plane every morning in Hawaii just to fly to high school just to play football for his shot at college. He did that every morning. This kid's work ethic is crazy. And I've been watching videos of him, of all the work he's been doing. He's looking good. So the Steelers do have, I think, a secret weapon, especially because, I'm not saying downfield, crazy catches or anything like that, but the dude's speed and skills and the coming out of the backfield or the line of scrimmage, short screen passes, he can be very, very deadly. So I think that helps Justin Fields out or Russell Wilson, whoever is the starter, which it should be Russell Wilson, but then again, Russell Wilson, I think, really has to play good in and out for the stay like that.
Well, if you look at the comments, Ron says, and I agree with them, that Wilson should be the starter for the team, that he still is what he considers to be a starter in this league, and that the Denver stint was basically just a disaster. It's Denver's fault, for the coaches that they hired, the systems they tried to run, the players that got ran out of town so that they could afford him. Now you've got a ready-made team that needed a quarterback. Russell Wilson is a bona fide quarterback with Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. It's going to seem like, because of that defense in Pittsburgh, it's going to feel like you're back in Seattle. They're going to run the football, okay? They're going to run it good. They're going to play great defense. He's going to get the ball to his weapons out there. There will be some times when he freelances, a la what he has done, letting Russell Wilson cook. He's got some good receivers there. George Pickens, they bring in Roman Wilson in the third round. Van Jefferson. Calvin Austin is a hidden gem that's been hurt and hasn't been able to get on and stay on the field the last couple of years. I'm telling you, I really like Pittsburgh in the AFC North.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with you or Ron's opinion. I think Wilson has the ability to be a good quarterback, but I will say this: look at his last couple of years in Seattle. There was a lot of reports of him arguing, fighting, with Pete Carroll, and I've watched a couple interviews with Lynch, and the comments he's made, it sounded like there was a lot of issues in that locker room, and with him, Russell Wilson, and I think Russell Wilson, I'm not 100% sure on it because Sean Payton is a hard-nosed coach, so it could have been 100% like Ron said. It could have been on Champagne. I wouldn't have missed that either. But to me, this is really going to show who was the problem in Denver. Was it Champagne? Or what if the shit happens again and it turns into another circus situation here in Pittsburgh with Russell Wilson?
Well, I mean, and if it does, then they're going to turn the ball over to Justin Fields and drop.
That's what
they signed a 1-year contract. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This is a prove-it year. Okay. Pittsburgh is notorious for having plenty of cap space, and I expect that will be the case at the end of this season. If they want him to be their quarterback, if they make the playoffs, if they make some noise, maybe Fields doesn't get on the field. Okay. Maybe Wilson ends up, or maybe they turn Fields into a gadget guy, a la Cordell Stewart, where he comes in and does some stuff, runs the ball like Taysom Hill in New Orleans, plays receiver, does some gadgets here and there, punt protector, and ends up being, the guy running the ball to pick up the fourth downs, things of those nature. If he isn't going to, end up elsewhere next year, we'll just have to wait and see. Everything is a wait and see proposition as we talk about these teams going into this year. There's a lot of things we can envision happening, but will they really happen or not?
You got that right, 100%.
So we've talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's move to an NFC team now. Our third profile today is your absolute favorite team from the NFC North, the Chicago Bears.
Fuck Chicago.
Well, and as we talked about, they sent Justin Fields packing. They lost Dante Foreman. Darnell Mooney went to Atlanta. Robert Tonyan signed with the Vikings to replace T.J. Hawkinson while he's injured. Equanimeous St. Brown is gone. Dan Feeney at offensive line. They lost Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Yannick Ngakoue, Dylan Cole, and Eddie Jackson. But offensively, the weapons that they have brought in, the defense played really, really well last year at the end of the season with Matt Eberflus as head coach. They're counting on that to continue this year as they bring in their first-round pick, Caleb Williams, who's already been named the starter. They're going to have DeAndre Swift, who comes over, former Lion, former Eagle, and he's going to take over as the starter. He'll be there with, Caleb Herbert, and then at wide receiver, they got DJ Moore last year. Now you've got Keenan Allen, Dante Pettis, at tight end. They bring in a guy who's familiar with the offensive system in Gerald Everett. They'll match him up with the tight end that's already there. And then the offensive line. They've done a lot to work on the offensive line here. And so I know you don't want to say a lot of positive things. It's in your blood. But tell me what you think about what Chicago has done here this offseason, Chris.
I think Chicago has actually had a real good, one of the best drafts I think I've ever seen Chicago ever have. Congratulations, Bear fans. They actually did a lot better in free agency than I thought as well. Their defense is going to be pretty fucking good. But that's all the Bears can usually build is a good defense. They struggle on the offense side of the ball, but they finally got a wide receiver core. I still think I still think Caleb Williams will be a bust, and they will still be searching for a quarterback in a couple of years, if not a veteran. I'm not buying into this, but I think the Bears are there. They're up and coming. I still think they might need a new coach. I think it was very stupid to keep their previous coach. I did not like that move from them. Other than that, regardless if it takes one more year, if I'm right, and this coach blows up this season, I think the Bears are probably, I would say, 3 to 4 years from being a legit contender every year in the division.
That would be me saying, you're obviously a Detroit Lions fan, saying 3 to 4 years. I think this team is capable of winning now, and if they don't, Caleb Williams will be labeled a bust. The wide receivers that they have brought in, the offensive linemen that they have brought in to protect him, they already had Cole Kmet at tight end. If they run double tight end sets, a la the Rams and the Seahawks have done, over the last several years, their new offensive coordinator is Shane Waldron. He comes from that McVay-Shanahan, coaching tree, and so, I think that looking at their schedule, they've got, to be honest, kind of a soft schedule compared to some of these other teams in the league.
Well, that's what happens when you suck.
Because they got a low play schedule. They're going to have some opportunities with these playmakers they brought in. They've got the veteran in Allen to teach, Roma Duze how to be a professional. They've got some guys that know the system that are coming in. The Ryan Bateses, the Gerald Everetts of the world are going to teach these other guys, what to do. And I think they'll be a lot further along this year, but they're playing in a monster of a division. Okay. We know that the Detroit Lions are the favorites in the division. We know that the Green Bay Packers are going to be right on their heels. I think that Minnesota will not be a slouch. I think Minnesota will be the fourth place team in the division, but they're not going to be a slouch at all. Okay. And I think that Chicago will have their hands full throughout the year, but I think they're going to play tough, and I think they're a double-digit win.
I mean, you can call me crazy and just say I'm hating because I'm a Lions fan, but what I said was legit the truth. I gave them credit for having the best draft of their franchise. They won the best off seasons. I just don't have trust in a quarterback that hasn't signed his rookie contract that's acting like he's this and that and this and that because he was able to get paid and play at USC that didn't even make the fucking playoffs not 1 year underneath this kid. This kid came spoiled by able to buy his own Ferraris, and now he's in Chicago acting like he's the best thing to show. Don't get me wrong. If the coach is good and makes me eat my words, then I will happily tell you guys in this season I was wrong. I just don't believe in the head coach. And I don't think the head coach is the coach to handle a diva that is kind of far away in front of our eyes right now as a rookie. I mean, he couldn't.
Did you put the shades on because you're talking about another NFC North team? Is that why you had to put those on?
I just put the blue and black shades on because I'm so sick. I'm so sick of this all season. Listen to these beer fans like they got a damn Super Bowl on the table already. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm giving you beer fans your cookies and your flowers for having the best.
No, you're not.
What
4 years. 3 to 4 years away.
Only why I'm saying 3-4 years, David, is because I believe a new coach has to come in with a new system.
Well,
that's why I said 3-4. If the coach makes me eat my words, David, I will happily eat those words, and I will take back that 3-4 statement. Only why I said 3-4 years is because I really think there's going to be a new coach coming in the horizon for the Bears. I don't, after what we see from him with Justin, because I don't think Justin's that bad of a quarterback. I don't think he's great. But come on, with his offense and him at the helm, he was so scared to throw a 10-yard pass at times.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you about a team that I watched. Okay, we see this happen all the time. Okay, I see it happen all the time. And my example is going to be the St. Louis Rams. Okay, the St. Louis Rams went 4-12. They drafted 3 great players. They started a backup quarterback who nobody had heard of, but they brought in Marshall Faulk. Okay. Now, they already had Isaac Bruce, and that's what this kind of reminds me of. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, okay, but it was the defense that put them in this position. The front office has been smart with the trades that they made to not only acquire, the pick that they had, and to get the extra stuff that they've gotten with the picks that they traded back and forth over the last 2 years, okay? Now they bring in all these playmakers, okay? You're going to have a rookie quarterback, I understand, but he played in a pro system. He played in a place where there was pressure to win, okay? He played with dynamic playmakers. And then this last year, all those dynamic playmakers were gone. Jordan Addison was in Minnesota. The offensive line was scattered around the NFL. The Bears' offensive line sucked. They bring in offensive linemen to replace the guys that they know aren't any good. They reinforced all of the spots offensively. Running back, Swift, okay? Now you got a 2-headed monster with him and Khalil Herbert. They brought in another tight end, Everett, good player, to go with Cole Kmet. They brought in 3 wide receivers and jettisoned the rest of the guys they had to go with Darnell Mooney, who they got last year. Okay? I'm telling you. I know it's my opinion. Everybody's opinions vary. Okay? There is no way this team is 3 years away from making the playoffs. Okay? They could make the playoffs this year. And I feel really bad for the Atlantas, the Dallases, the Rams, Cardinals of the world, because one of those teams is not getting in the playoffs, and Chicago's going to.
I don't see it happening. Not with that coach. Because you're talking about a team that had what was that on that coaching staff? I swear, if I go back to the Rams, I'm pretty sure their coaching staff were Hall of Famers.
Of the offensive coaching staff that is brought in this year, only 3 of the coaches on offense have returned from last season. They got a new offensive coordinator. They got a new line coach, new running backs coach, new receivers coach, new quality control coach, new run game coordinator, okay? New passing game coordinator. So, if the offense, it's all predicated on the offense. And I understand where you're coming from with Matt Eberflus, okay? He's a defensive coach, and the defense played well. And they added to that defense this offseason.
Oh, for sure.
We'll argue this till we're blue in the face, but we don't have time to do that full time. I say they finish 3rd in the division but make the playoffs. Where do you got them?
I got them 3rd or 4th. And I got them fighting for the basement with Minnesota. Their schedule is the only thing that will save them. I mean, their schedule does favor them, that's for sure, Ron. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Lions were there 2 years ago, so.
All right, so that we've gone from an NFC team that we're passionate about because it's in the NFC North.
Fuck the Bears.
We're going to go to the AFC South, and we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars now and the things that they have done this offseason. Jacksonville, okay, wins the division 2 years ago, and they slipped back this last year, due to a stronger schedule. Trevor Lawrence was injured. They had, the running game was not as successful as it had been the previous year. I think part of that was probably because of offensive line difficulties. Jacksonville's trying to remedy that. Now, the funny one here is they bring in Matt Jones to be the backup quarterback, who I think got a raw deal in New England. We've talked about him in the past. I think if he gets a chance to sit, and he's from Jacksonville, if he gets a chance to sit behind Lawrence, learn the system, if anything happens to Trevor, Matt Jones, I think, can be an adequate fill-in for him in the future. Now, offensively, of course, he's going to replace Matt Barkley. They lost a couple of big play receivers, basically for money reasons. I mean, there's no way I'd have paid Calvin Ridley what the Tennessee Titans did, and they lost Zay Jones. Jamal Agnew was their returner. So they bring in Devin Duvernay to be the returner. They bring in Gabe Davis. They draft Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU. They've got Everett Ingram at tight end. Now they add Josiah DeGuara. He's going to come in for some double tight end sets. But the big move on the offensive line is they bring in Mitch Morris, a former Chief and Buffalo Bill. He's played with both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Now he'll play with Trevor Lawrence. This is a guy that can make the line calls for Trevor, give him less to have to worry about at the line of scrimmage. And he's played in this system before because he played in Kansas City. This is the Andy Reid system for, Doug Peterson being there. Their pass rush is going to be so much better this year. They bring in Eric Armstead, to pair with Josh Allen, who his last name is skipped down or something. But at linebacker, Travis Gibson, the safety, the secondary was really roughed up last year. So they let some guys go and they bring in some other guys. And, of course, they drafted, a corner in the third round. So you got Darnell Savage, Ronald Darby, who's kind of a journeyman in corner, but he does a good job at the places that he has been to. Never known as a shutdown corner, but he is a good zone corner. Now, Jerry and Jones comes in with the third-round pick. So they've really done a good job of trying to remake that secondary that let them down late in the year. And then they added Riley Patterson to come in and take over for Brandon McManus, who was lost at kicker. And so, I look at this team, and I know they're going to be in a dogfight, Chris. We know Houston is going to be tough. We don't know what we're going to get out of Indianapolis. But, between Jacksonville, Houston, Tennessee has added a lot of stuff, and we may talk about them next week. I think that Jacksonville has an opportunity that they took a step back. Maybe that step they took back is what they needed so they could take a couple of steps forward.
Jacksonville Jaguars. I bought in real high with them last year. I was real high on them last year in our preseason predictions. This year, I'm just taking a step back with them a little bit because last year, the year before last year, they looked like they were going to be the team to take that next step, and they definitely never took that next step. I like Trevor Lawrence. I think he has ability to be a good quarterback in this league. But last year to see him, to me, his play was just never consistent. I understand that there's a lot of things that played factor in that, but to me, I didn't like the idea of giving him the big contract when he had one more year. I felt like they should have waited for that towards the end of the season. Let this kid go out there and show that he's worth that contract. But to me, they're still one of the better teams in that division because, like what David said, you don't know where you're going to get out of Indy. We kind of know what we could get out of Tennessee because we've seen some nice plays out of Will Levis, but we haven't seen this new team on the field. So they got the question mark on how good are they going to be with the new coach and new system coming out this year. So right now, I mean, Texas and Jacksonville are the two best teams out of this division as of right this minute. But I feel like Tennessee could possibly already trump the Jaguars a little bit. That's what my gut's kind of telling me here.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Will Levis, and like I said, I think we may talk about them next week. There are teams out there that are looking to go from basically worst to first, and that's one of the teams that could. So, the AFC South has been real strong last year, but, like Indianapolis, they nearly made the playoffs with Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew's gone. It's going to be Anthony Richardson there now this year, and we've seen him get hurt, concussed, shoulder problems. They don't want him taking risks running around a la Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, other quarterbacks that have been hurt, trying to take off and run all the time. They need him to be smart and play smart. And in the media, he sure makes it sound like, well, I'm just going to play the way I play, and you can't put, chains on me, because if you do, you're not going to get my best performance.
I mean, sounds cocky, but he's probably kind of telling the truth, because some of those guys, they have to be mobile to play their game. And if you do put the chains on them, you don't get the best out of them, unfortunately. I mean, but to me is you don't need to stop him from running. You just need to make him make smarter choices when to run and when not to run. Ryan says Jacksonville will have to be playing a lot better this year if they have any chance to beat out Houston in that division. I also think Jacksonville could finish third or fourth with how Indy and Tennessee both look coming out of their off seasons. I mean, I will say that too. I mean, we really don't know what we're getting out of Indy, because we don't know if, like he was just bringing up, if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy through the whole year. Is he going to make better decisions when to run and when not to run? Because he got himself killed last year a couple times out of the gate, took his whole season away. So, I mean, that is a big question on him. But look at how close Indy was in almost all their games all last season with how messed up the season was for them. They still could have pulled some of those games out. There's no questions about that. So if Richardson comes in there and makes smart decisions and stays healthy and wins games, Indy could be a very good team. Tennessee has the ability to be a good team. We just new coach, new system, so we don't know how fast they're going to click right off the gate.
Yeah,
so Jacksonville.
Wait till we take a big-time look at the new secondary Tennessee has put together. They've got Jamal Adams that they bring in from Seattle. They picked up L'Jarius Sneed from the Kansas City Chiefs. So then that's not the only two pieces that they brought in. And then offensively, with Calvin Ridley, they're going to pair him with DeAndre Hopkins. The running game will be interesting. They got Tajay Spears, who's still there, who played last year, backing up Derrick Henry, who is gone and left to Baltimore. And then they bring in Tony Pollard from the Cowboys. So they got a 1-2 punch of two really shifty running guys, as far as fast when it comes to running the ball. But the problem for this team is offensive and defensive line. The only defensive lineman that Tennessee has is Justin Simmons, and the offensive line is in shambles, to be honest. We'll have to spotlight and take a lot closer look at that team next week. I think we're going to talk about Tennessee, New Orleans, your Green Bay Packers will make an appearance, and we'll get one more team from the NFC in here for next week. But, for right now, we've spotlighted these four teams this week. We've talked about some of the news around the league. I wanted to bring up the video that you sent to me from a podcast, and I think it was, I don't know, it's not Bussin' with the Boys, it's the other guys. Pardon my take, I think it is. Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals is on the podcast, and they're talking to him about, the perfect scheduling and everything. And he says, how many games? He asks the guy that is putting on the show, how many games are you playing, before he wants to talk about the schedule. And the guy says 18 games. And he goes, okay, well, if it's going to be 18 games, you got to have 2 bye weeks. And they start going into, all of the different things that would go along with an 18-game schedule. And people in the NFL and the Players Association are trashing Joe Burrow for basically okaying an 18-game schedule, when he isn't the one that brought it up. He was simply asking a question. I don't think they should have ever went to 17 games, but I'm sure that they're going to end up with 18 eventually, and it's all because of the amount of money that they're able to bring in, more streaming partners, more streaming money, more holiday shows, games or such. I mean, look at this year alone. The salary cap was projected to be $240 million, and it ended up being $255 million. Okay?
Yep.
All that extra money is coming from playing foreign games, getting that foreign market money, playing games on the streaming deals. Well, I don't want to have to pay for Amazon to watch the Thursday night game. Then don't watch the Thursday night game. Okay?
Exactly.
Wild Wings or go to a bar where somebody's going to pay to watch it, because people are going to pay. When the Chiefs played the Dolphins and it was a playoff game on Peacock, they got so many subscriptions, and they're like, well, as soon as the game's over, I'm going to cancel my subscription. 70% of the people that subscribed to Peacock didn't leave. They stayed, okay, because of the amount of things that Peacock had besides the football game that was enticing for only $4.99 a month, okay? And so the same thing's going to happen, when it comes to Netflix getting in on these Christmas games this year. We've got the first Friday game in 50 years going to be on, Peacock here, the first Friday of the season. And so, they're all trashing him. It wasn't his idea. But I do agree, and I think you will too, Chris, if we go to 18 games, they got to have 2 bye weeks. And I think
they have to.
They should stagnate them to where nobody gets a bye week in the center of the season. It's like 3 sets of teams, okay, in weeks 5, 6, and 7, and 3 sets of teams in weeks 13, 14, 15. So that they offset it. You'll only have, maybe 6 or 7 games, for 2 weeks in a row.
Well, this is where I disagree.
To rest up their players, because 18 games is going to be a long season.
See, this is where I disagree with that, because for that to kind of work, Joe was right. I'm sorry, Joe's right. The second bye week has to be the whole league. It has to be the whole league. It's the only fair way to do it, because to me, is if you're in a playoff race, you got a bye week, say week 16. How much times have we seen teams come back from a bye week and they lose the first game, but then by the week after that, they're back to where they were in the previous weeks of playing? You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck if it's Lions, Packers, the fucking Chiefs. I don't give a fuck what team it is. That would be so fucking unfair for them to come back from a bye week and then have that play effect. And, them playing sloppy. It is, to me, because it could go either way. They can either play sloppy or they got the advantage over the other team that might be fighting for that last playoff seed. So to me, I think how Joe said it was perfect. The first half of the season, you do exactly what he said. 3 teams. Later in the half, the whole league takes a break, and either you do the Pro Bowl or you do something. I mean, the Pro Bowl is so pansy-fied today that they don't even hit each other. They just run around and have fun. So guess what? Do the fucking Pro Bowl. Give the whole league a break. Let the fans have a break. Give the fans a weekend to blow off. If they want to watch the Pro Bowl, fine. But if we don't want to watch Pro Bowl, let's go do something.
Nobody's going to want to participate in the Pro Bowl games during their off week because they made the Pro Bowl. You think nobody shows up for it now?
I think, because
people show up for it in the middle of the season.
Well, see, David, because the players won't have a choice. Look at the NHL. The NHL players do the All-Star during the season. The only way out of the game, the only way out of the NHL All-Star game is you got to have proof by a doctor that you have an injury that you cannot play, which some players will be able to bail out the injured ones. But it still don't change the fact that, guess what? All the other players that are not injured, they're going to be there. It's a vacation. You get to take your wife and kids with you. You get to go to Hawaii, Vegas, somewhere warm.
Orlando.
It's still a fucking vacation with your colleagues. Players would go, and guess what? Now you're probably going to get some Super Bowl players that everybody cries about for them not playing in the Pro Bowl because they got the Super Bowl the week later after that. You know what I mean? So to me, is you would have more players, especially they don't hit each other. What's the excuse to go hang out with your family in somewhere warm, and a couple hours a day you can go on TV and play dodgeball with your players from work? I mean, to me, I don't see a big issue with that. I could see if they were playing like, when Sean Taylor and those guys there, we don't care, it's Pro Bowl, we're going to hit you and knock you out. No, if Pro Bowl was played a real game with tackling and everything on the field, then I agree with that 100%, David. That players did not want to play, and I wouldn't blame those players for not wanting to play in that game in the middle of the season on a bye week. They're going to be cool, but to me, they play flag football. You haven't seen no one get hurt in it. Just do it. Or make it somewhere else. Make it something else fun or entertaining for the league, or just take a week off altogether.
Well, that's the only other thing I had. Do you got any other news or notes around the league you want to talk about?
No, that's it for right now. Next week, I'll definitely bring more to the table. I'm just honestly glad to be back. I just want to say again to all our followers and our weekly viewers that I apologize on my behalf because I planned it. I didn't do no Thursday interviews with anybody this offseason, and I'm really honestly mad about that myself. But, David knew I was looking at a better career to work with this broadcast better, and I thought it was going to be better, but then it got super, super busy. But, for the first almost 2 months, I was doing all those grass and weeding jobs and landscaping jobs by myself, working myself dead tired into the ground. I finally got full-time help now, so a lot of things it's becoming easier. And honestly, I think, I can't speak for David, but the break after going on almost 2 years of consistently, this would be our second year. But I went back to all of our broadcasts, our shows. We were so consistent for over a year and a few months, right before April, that we didn't take much time off at all. So I think this few weeks, honestly, was a nice reset. You know what I mean? Because especially in these off seasons, I didn't realize how much effort we put into this show, and it just leads up to it. And you're just like, on Sunday, we got a show about like, what am I supposed to bring it to the table to talk about? Like, I'm so football out. But it did give us a nice break, and to me, I feel like I mentally reset myself now. And now I'm getting to the point, and receiver. Right when I got Wi-Fi, receiver came out. As soon as I started watching receiver on Netflix, boy, I was ready to fight. I almost fucking called you. Just fire the computer up, boy. Let's go. Let's do a show.
You talk about the receiver show on Netflix. I cannot believe that Amon-Ra St. Brown played the whole rest of the season with a torn oblique.
We're both different in Detroit. We're both different.
It's because he played for Detroit. That's why.
We're built different in Detroit.
Yeah, okay. He's not from Detroit.
Well, guess what? When he came in here in the league, our coaching staff is the one that coached him and gave him his mentality. Even though St. Brown's did a lot of it on his own, he is that dog. He has that dog in him for sure. But if the Lions, I don't think if the Lions were the Lions, I don't think I don't know if he would still play. You know, I haven't spoken much on it, and I don't like speaking much on it because I'm still having the same mindset as I had last season, week by week, game by game. Even though I love the hype and I believe the hype, I'm not guaranteeing the hype. So I'm trying to remain the same as I was going through last season, but there is something real special happening with the Lions. You could see it in the clips, how St. Brown talks, and, you know, it's just seeing the guys around him when he was around the team. I've never seen a Lions team like that, ever, you know, and I just feel like when you have a great team, you have players that, with no hesitation, will go the extra mile to play for you in the city that they play for when it's like that.
My hope for you guys is that whether you get deep in the playoffs, whether you make it to the Super Bowl, whether you win a Super Bowl, it's to see your team be a consistent winner year after year. You can't sit back and be like, it's Super Bowl or bust because only one team can win. And if you don't win and you're just going to be disappointed, you better not watch because you've got a really low chance of being the champion at the end of the year. And so, hope to win as many games as you can. Enjoy watching your team be a winner. Hope you make the playoffs. Hope you win the division. Hope that you beat some teams that have beat you in the past and stick it in their face for a change. And if you guys can do that, if you can be a consistent team that makes it to at least the divisional playoff round over the next 5 or 6 years, you guys should really, really be proud. I think you're going to have another monster year this year, but you're going to have a target on your back. You've got some bullies in your conference. You've got a bully in your division. It's going to be the black and blue division again this year for the first time in several years. And I think that you guys are going to be one of the favorites to win it all out of the NFC. And so,
for sure.
Good luck to Detroit going forward this year. We'll highlight and spotlight that team in a couple of weeks. I didn't want to do it right away and have people lose interest in the chance that they may see them, right off the gate here. But we'll definitely do Detroit, Kansas City, Minnesota, all, here in a few weeks. But
exactly. So remember, Sunday night, 8 o'clock. Don't miss out. We'll be live. We'll be here. One more comment we'll get to. Here's an interesting concept. Play the Pro Bowl the week before the draft, where if someone gets hurt, They have time before the season to get better, or teams can make adjustments on draft day.
Never happened.
Well, if they still played a real football game, like I was talking back when Sean Taylor went to the Pro Bowl, and he was the first player to really start hitting people hard, and they had those years where it was like a real game, they would make 100%, right? They would make 100% to do it then. But it's not that physical.
Yeah,
it's not even a game.
No, there's no chance that it will happen before the draft. And the reason why is because all of these teams are in the process of finalizing their draft boards. They're in the process of getting everything ready to go. And these guys have been off for months on end. They're not going to come out and play in a game, after they've been off for months where, there is a high risk of injury, happening. And then it'd have to be negotiated by the Players Association. I don't think they're ever going to actually hold a game, like a real game again. And when you say nobody's ever been hurt playing the flag football game, they did a flag football game on the beach 20-plus years ago, and a Pro Bowl running back and Robert Edwards tore his knee up and was never the same for the New England Patriots, playing flag football on the beach.
Sure. Where did you say they were playing football at, David? The beach. Same. Yeah. But, and I'm not saying no one can get seriously hurt playing flag football, but I'm saying the last few Pro Bowls they've had has been flag football. It's been on a turf, and there's been 0 injuries.
And it hasn't been too awful long since the season ended. So the players are still in shape. They're not necessarily in off-season mode yet, where they're off eating, drinking, having a good time, vacationing, whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
It's been a few weeks since they played, especially if they're playing in the playoffs. And so I think that where they've got it is probably the best you're going to get. If they do it after the season. I don't think that they're going to do it in the middle of the season. It's an interesting idea, and it was posed by a player, so maybe it'll get some traction, and we'll see what happens. But based on the responses on X and Instagram and Facebook, the players were not happy with what Joe Burrow had to say.
Well, of course the players weren't happy because they don't want 18 games because somebody's telling them in their head that they can get out of playing 18 games. Guess what? The players before you said the same shit about playing 17 games. How many games you played today, boys?
Just like Ron said, it's all about that money.
You know what I mean? You're never going to beat the NFL. The NFL will get what they want. They control when you play the games. They control how much money you can spend on a contract, on contracts for your team a year. Stop thinking that they can't control if they're getting 18 games out of you or not. It's that simple. All these players want the pay raises, and they want more and more and more. Well, guess what, boys? If you want more and more, the NFL wants to make even more and more and more before you start getting that type of money. That's just how real life works, unfortunately.
Yep. And on that note, Chris, have a good week. We'll see you next Sunday.
You too. We'll see you guys next Sunday. I'm already pumped up for it. So catch us next Sunday. Don't forget. Go through the comments. Twitch, YouTube links are posted. You can follow us there. You can follow us on 4th and Goal Sports, NFL Renegades, on Facebook. Both of our profiles, we both share the live stream from 4th and Goal Sports to our personal pages as well. So if you're one of our friends, you can stay there, follow us. If not, click on 4th and Goal, follow us if you want there too. Follow David. He always does picks with David every week through the season. So that way you can let him know when he's wrong and congratulate him when he's right.
All right, everybody. And hey, if you got questions or comments about anything that's happening in the NFL, just post them on one of the things, and we'll get back to it this next upcoming week. Thanks again for joining us. I'm out.
Peace out, guys. Good night. Everybody be safe and have a great week. See you next Sunday. Later.